Corn Pop was a bad dude, and he ran a bunch of bad boys. And I did, and back in those days, you show how things have changed. One of the things you had to use, if you used pomade in your hair, you had to wear a baby cap.
I miss the good old days of Joe Biden. Corn Pop was bad dude. He used pomade, and then Joe Biden said, hey, Esther, what are you doing in the pool? You can't have pomade in the pool. He's calling him Esther Williams because his mind is still in 1938. All right, not quite 1938, but almost. Well, a very good Friday to you. A very good Friday indeed. A new pope was selected and elected at the Vatican yesterday. Quite rapidly, it seemed to me. I expected delays, tie-ups, lots and lots of new cardinals that didn't know each other, coming in from all over the world, of course. 80% of whom had been selected by our recently departed pope. And now we have an American pope, kind of a big deal, not just for Catholics, but beyond. First American pope is chosen, the banner headline in the Washington Post today, kind of surprising. Chicago native signals continuity. Leo the Lion. Leo the 14th solidifies shift in power away from Europe. It's away from Europe because the Democrat Party, that means the Washington Post, they're kind of peculiar when it comes to these things. And, of course, gender, too. That's another thing they're very strange about. Robert Prevost, a registered Republican, because he's an American citizen. He's registered to vote in Illinois, the great state of Illinois. And he's been spending lots and lots of time in Latin America, of course, where he kind of grew up as a priest and a bishop and then a cardinal. And now he's the Pope. A pretty amazing story. And there are all kinds of great memes going around. My brother's in Chicago, one of whom is a very good Catholic, and the other still thinks about it frequently. But lots of memes going around, and they got the new Pope with a Bears jersey on and a Cubs Pope hat and all kinds of deep dish pizza and all sorts of fun things. So the news media, they're trying to shoot down the Pope is a registered Republican story. They don't like that story because they're left-wingers. They're not journalists overwhelmingly. They're just left-wingers with keyboards. But the people in the news media out there, fact check. New Pope Leo the 14th, that's XIV. Leo the 14th is not, quote, registered Republican, end quote. He voted Republican in Republican primaries, but Illinois voters didn't declare party affiliation when registering. So they're trying to shoot that down because they don't want that to be a part of the story. And then the idiot mayor of Chicago, Illinois, which he's driving into the side of a mountain because he's a left-wing idiot. And he's a school teacher. I bet he was a heck of a school teacher, wasn't he? The people that were in the Chicago public schools when he was teaching should go back and ask for a refund. But here's what Let's Go Brandon. They got Let's Go Brandon Johnson. He's the mayor of Chicago, Illinois, tragically. And the Chicago mayor, he, when the Pope, it was learned, is a man from Chicago, a Catholic priest from Chicago. The mayor of Chicago, a dim-witted left-wing radical Democrat who's causing more murder and mayhem and gang activity and all that. He says, everything's dope. Everything's dope, he says, right? Including the Pope comes from Chicago. That's what the mayor said. Of Chicago. Everything's dope, including the Pope, comes from Chicago. Everything dope. See, dope is good in stupid speak and, Democrat speak. It's dope. It's bad. Bad means good. Dope means good. These are not bright people. They use the words, but they don't understand what they mean. No sense of irony, these people. Everything's dope, including the Pope. The Democrats, they love things that rhyme, don't they? Like, kill the Jews, then let's drink some booze, whatever they were attacking Columbia University again yesterday, the mob of Democrat, violent, anti-Semitic, genocidal, Nazi-like, Hamas-loving Democrats. You know the Democrat Party mainstream. But, yeah, I love this. And one of my brothers in Chicago sent this. Everything's dope, including the Pope. Everything dope, including the Pope, comes from Chicago. That's what the mayor said. He should be immediately removed from office just for being an idiot. Now, speaking of idiots, the FBI, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, the Department of Justice, opened formal investigation. I prefer it when they use the word probe, don't you? I like especially ever-expanding probe, because you know how the Democrats, they enjoy a good probe, especially an ever-expanding probe. FBI opens formal investigation into New York AG. It says NYAG Letitia James. That's your New York Attorney General, the state Attorney General. And she is a liar, a crook, an abuser of power, a left-wing radical, and a racist. So a perfectly mainstream Democrat. And the FBI has now opened an investigation. New York Attorney General Letitia James. Department of Justice says unethically campaigned on getting Donald Trump. You might think that that would be unethical, but Democrats don't. They just want to firebomb a Jewish governor's house. How many more Jewish governors are there? There are 4 more, I think. The Democrats need to get busy firebombing their homes, don't you think? Come on, time's ticking. So the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of New York have launched a formal criminal investigation into New York Attorney General Letitia James for alleged mortgage fraud. Kind of ironic, given that the left-wing radical Democrat extremists abusing their power went after President Trump. Remember, they said that his $500 million estate in Palm Beach, historic estate, world-renowned estate, was worth $19 million. There are one-bedroom apartments in Manhattan that go for $19 million. Okay, maybe you get 3 bedrooms for $19 million. But, the parking lot is worth more than $19 million at Mar-a-Lago. And they accused him, that crooked judge up there, filthy, rotten, crooked judge. They're crooks. They're left. They're the left. They're mental, aren't they? Just amazing. Man, oh, man. But here it is. In announcing the probe, there it is. Now I feel better. Now it's a probe because they sure like their probes, don't they? They like their colons and they like their probes. These are 2 things that they like. And Molotov cocktails. Okay, 3 things they like. Amazing stuff. And marauding against the Jews. They like that. So in announcing the probe, U.S. Attorney John A. Sarcone III took a swipe at James' 2018 campaign rhetoric about investigating President Donald Trump. The U.S. Attorney said James unethically ran around the state campaigning on getting Donald Trump, end quote, and essentially accused her of finding a criminal target without an alleged crime. That's, of course, the Soviet communist practice of show me the man and I'll show you the crime. Lavrentiy Beria, who was the head of the KGB and NKVD under Joseph Stalin, and the Democrat Party is a lot more Stalinist today than probably anybody else. Maybe Putin is more Stalinist than the Democrats, but I'm not sure. The Albany Times-Union newspaper in Albany, New York, the state capital, reported the investigation into James centers on allegations that she misrepresented key information on mortgage applications for 2 properties, one in Virginia, another in Brooklyn, New York. And she said, even though the law requires her to live in New York because she's the Attorney General of the state of New York, she claimed that a house, a not very big, not very fancy house in Virginia Beach, Virginia, was her primary residence. She was obviously lying. She lied about a kind of a slumlord property that she owns in Brooklyn, New York. Said it's got 4 bedrooms rather than 5 bedrooms, which changes the math for mortgage lenders for some inexplicable reason that I cannot explain. And so she lied about it. And also she married her father. What is it with Democrats marrying their relatives? Honestly, we had, Ilhan Omar married her brother because, they wanted the kids to look like their parents. So they Ilhan Omar married her brother, and that was to cheat the immigration system because they're all criminals. They're all the left. And, of course, Ilhan Omar is very disrespectful to the United States, even though we saved her life and the lives of her family members. They, honestly, their sun-bleached bones would be in the desert sands of Africa were it not for the United States, with black scorpions crawling over the sun-bleached bones of Ilhan Omar and her family. But she allegedly married her brother. That's what she reported. Oh, here's my husband. And my husband needs to come to the United States and get legal residency here. And oh, okay. Hey, he's got the same last name as you. Gosh, well, that's because we're married. No, it's your brother. Yes, but we're very close. We like each other very much. And then Letitia James put down that her husband, because you get better terms again if you're married and not her, and because who would marry her? Have you seen her? Have you listened to her? Just amazing stuff. But she claimed that she was married to a man, and then you look into who the man is, and it's her father, just like Ilhan Omar put down her brother as her husband. Letitia James put down her father as her husband. And the news media shrugs and says, well, everybody does. Doesn't everybody do that? And we all do that. We're all just, spreading monkeypox. That's all we're doing. We just love the pox. That's what we're all about. So that's an amazing story. I've got updates for you on that as well. And Joe Biden was on The View yesterday, and it turns out, and then they eventually at the end, they brought out Dr. Jill Biden, I think, because Joe Biden needed a medic. He needed paddles, bring the back, try to jumpstart him because he was babbling incoherently again. But he did say that the reason that Donald Trump won and Kamala Harris lost is because all Americans, at least if you didn't vote for the communist idiot, did she marry any relatives? We're going to have to look into this because Kamala Harris, now that a pattern has been established, we're going to have to look into whether she's married to a relative too. But the Joe Biden interview, if you can call it that, on The View, which is an ABC News product, by the way, under the ABC News umbrella, and their journalists are Whoopi Goldberg and Joyless Behar and Woohoo, whatever, and just amazing. But he said the reason that 77 million people didn't vote for her is because they're all sexist and racist. And then he firebombed a Jew's house and celebrated the Confederate States of America, which the Democrat Party inflicted upon us, along with the KKK and Jim Crow laws. And you remember Joe Biden didn't want his kids going to school in a racial jungle in Delaware when they racially integrated the schools there, you may recall. Joe Biden is the biggest racist we've had since the last Democrat president before him, who was, of course, Barack Obama, a giant racist too. But there. So Joe Biden reveals on The View he wasn't surprised that Trump defeated Harris in 2024 election. Says Americans are sexist, and that's the headline in the New York Post. He also said they're racist because she's a woman of color, and they just go around accusing everybody of racism, and then they abort 40% of the black population, kill them in the womb, and firebomb every Jew that walks by Columbia University. Aren't they amazing? Yes, they are. Oh, yeah, Fetterman. Speaking of Fetterman, you weren't speaking of Fetterman. Fetterman doubts explode into Capitol Hill firestorm. The Democrats have turned against Fetterman because he said a couple of things that are true and that make sense. And when that happened, they knew it was time to do him in because of the mental illnesses that they're suffering from. Man, oh, man. But it's got Fetterman asking, why does everyone hate me? And the simple explanation is the Democrat Party hates everyone. They're not liberals, they're the left. And also the R word. The R word is making a comeback. What R word could you possibly be referring to? Well, Joe Rogan, Elon Musk, and others say that the R word is making a comeback. And I'll share that with you coming up as well. Yes, sir. Did you see the meth-smoking raccoon? Probably didn't know that Hunter Biden had pets, but here they come. And The Democrats, they love Hamas. They hate Israel. There is more violence, more madness, more anti-Semitism because of the Democrat Party. And we are at 888-630-9625. Chris here with a list of things that none of us should trust. The Washington Post, the New York Times, anything on CNN. Here's a list of things that I do trust. The Washington Times. Support real journalism for just $1 a week at washingtontimes.com/Chris. Yes. All right, we have many callers on the line, great Americans and people that follow the news and are rightly concerned about it. We were talking about Letitia James in New York now being investigated, not charged yet, and dragged away in handcuffs to be mug-shotted in a death prison in Atlanta like the fascists did to President Trump over, what was that, the non-disclosure agreement or accurately reporting the value of real estate? Which one was that? But let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to David calling from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Gesundheit. David, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Good morning, Chris. I love your show. Thank you so much for everything you do. You make me laugh out loud every day.
Thank you. What's not funny about all this, after all?
Oh, you're not kidding. We finally took back ridicule and humor from the Democrats.
Yep.
So anyway, your question on the 1 to 4 units and then 5. I was in banking for 30 years and kind of know all this from filling out the forms in the back room. If you go to get a mortgage at a bank and you're looking for a residential, you're allowed to talk to the residential mortgage loan officer, and they can go 1 to 4. And that means you occupy one and then you get 3 other units to rent. As soon as you say to them, I have 5 units, they're calling a commercial loan officer downtown and everything changes. Because at that range, you're an investment property. The appraisals are out of sight on expense. The insurance, the follow-up, financial statements, everything. Everything changes at 5.
I did not realize that. I suspected there was something very much like that. So when Letitia James says that she's a slumlord in Brooklyn, and it's 4 units, then that's a 4-bedroom. Then that gets you treated one way, more generous in a more generous way by the bank, and
it's cheaper.
And it's cheaper, and it saves you money.
Cheaper.
So she's lying. She's committing fraud.
She is a true slumlord because there's so many complaints against her for the physical conditions of the place.
Well, David, for Democrats, that's all legitimate. It's all good and wholesome. They're just it's for the greater good because the left. David, in banking, Cape Cod, Mass, lovely, beautiful Cape Cod, Mass. Thank you for calling in and clarifying that for me. I am, of course, not a banker. The left in the United States, they pretend to be the Democratic Party. Corruption is normal for them. Corruption is completely normal. They do everything from lie to lenders and investigators to corrupting the algorithms on the internet, so that when you search on the Google machine and their best results show up first and perhaps only. This morning, I was looking into Letitia James because she's a left-wing radical abusing her political power to target the political enemies of the Democrat Party, Donald Trump being first among them, of course. But I Googled this morning Letitia James, and actually, interestingly, the computer here at the radio studio autofilled, married her father. All I did was type Letitia James, and it autofilled on the search bar, married her father. I said, oh, that's kind of fascinating, I guess. Maybe other people have searched for it here on this computer, or maybe everybody's searching for that on the internet. But the first thing that pops up is the AI, the artificial intelligence, which is perfect for Democrats. The AI overview. It's the AI, and they've tampered with this, but they still can't keep it in the bottle. The AI overview says, the first thing that comes up, no, comma, Letitia James is not married to her father. Well, I didn't actually say she is married to her father. I said she claimed she's married to her father in order to commit fraud, which is a felony. No, Letitia James is not married to her father, period. The allegations that she misrepresented her father as her husband on mortgage applications have been denied by James as baseless, in quotation marks, and a form of retaliation. That's the first thing that pops up, the AI. That's automated on the internet. It immediately rushes to the defense of any criminal Democrat, as long as they're a criminal Democrat. Now listen to this, because this gets funny, because it's automatic. So it searches and then it comes up with stuff. These allegations are linked to documents where her father was listed as her husband on property purchases in 1983 and 2000. So they start with, no, Letitia James is not married to her father. The rest of the sentence should be, she only says she is when she's applying for loans, and she gets a better rate if she's married. Oh, here's my husband. Wait a minute, isn't that your father? And again, we got a Democrat member of Congress who's married to her brother, and that was to commit immigration fraud, so that black scorpions would not be crawling over the sun-bleached bones of her brother as the desert sands blew across them. Isn't that amazing? These allegations are linked to documents where her father was listed as her husband on property purchases in 1983 and 2000. That's a 7-year marriage. I think that's the average length of a marriage, isn't it? 7 years? I think I read that years ago. However, James has maintained that these were simply misrepresentations. Of course they were. Not an attempt to mislead. Again, they use the words, but they don't know what they mean. Misrepresentation means that it was an attempt to mislead. So this sentence is contradictory, but this is what the Democrat Party does. They corrupt everything, from Google searches to bank loans to... And our first wonderful caller from Cape Cod, David, longtime banker, lots of loans, informs that what Letitia James, with the saying it's four bedrooms instead of 5 bedrooms, means that it's commercial versus residential. And then she had the claim that she lived in a house in Virginia, which would be illegal for her to do because state law requires that the attorney general live and have their primary residence, therefore, in the state of New York. But never mind that. So, she's not married to her father. She just claimed repeatedly in legal documents that she was married to her father. And they've corrupted the AI search, the Google search, the banking system, it's just amazing stuff. These people, can I tell you? Yes, sir. And CBS News wrote about it back on April 18th. New York Attorney General Letitia James accused of possible mortgage fraud. That's the most generous headline that they could give it. Referred for federal criminal prosecution for alleged mortgage fraud related to a Virginia home and a New York property. But pay no attention to any of this, CBS News. And then there's the little matter of CBS News said back then, it's also alleged James and her father signed mortgage documents in 1983, they left out, and in 2000, stating that they were husband and wife. Sure. Ms. James, for both properties listed above, appear to have falsified records in order to meet certain lending requirements and receive favorable loan terms. Just amazing stuff. And one of them, are you married? Do I get better terms if I'm married? Yes, you do. Then I'm married. Oh, okay. Who's your husband? This man over here. Boy, they look alike. They talk alike. Sometimes they even walk alike. What a crazy pair. They, and again, You're a member of the House of Representatives. You claim you married your brother to commit immigration fraud. You're the anti-Trump jihadi Attorney General of the state of New York. You claim that you're married to your father to get more favorable terms. It's good to be a Democrat, isn't it? Yes, it is. Now let's go to soundbite number 18. Letitia James. They call her Tish. Tish is, it's Letitia. You lose the la and the and now you got Tish. The Letitia, they call her, some people call her Tish. And here she is. She came out yesterday when she learned the Justice Department was investigating her for possible fraud on mortgages, a topic on which the left-wing radical Democrat New Yorkers attacked President Trump, and it was all a lot of hooey. And they committed fraud in court documents saying, his $500 million estate's worth no more than $19 million. See, and he's claiming it's worth more. You guys should, like, nightstick to the head, to the ground. Here's Tish James yesterday.
We're ready. We're prepared. Do not give in to fear. We are fearless. This is not the time to be afraid. This is a time to stand up and fight back and to resist any temptation for them to divide us. We're in this together. The rule of law is on our side.
No, it's not. Hey, is that your husband over there? When's the last time you had a conjugal visit with your father? Resist, fight, fear, fearless. And who was that, like Hamas in front of her, clapping like a bunch of moron seals?
But resist we much.
I definitely think resist we much, because that's the Democrat Party mantra, isn't it? Just amazing. Now, this morning on the Fox News channel in the 5 a.m. hour, I was watching for you, former federal prosecutor named Andrew Cherkasky. Andrew Cherkasky was on. He's former federal prosecutor. Now he's a defense attorney. And he was asked about the difficulties that fearless, brave, fighting, brawling, resisting, presumably anti-Semitic Democrat Tish James is fighting.
She listed this as intended to be a private personal residence as opposed to it being a rental property. There's different interest rates that come along with that type of election. And that's exactly what she went after Donald Trump for, that he was indicating false matters on his real estate documents.
She couldn't possibly count the number of rooms or bedrooms in the Brooklyn residence where she's a slumlord. And if we had a news media, they'd go there and they'd talk to people, but we don't have much of a news media. You know, two news organizations can't do everything in the United States. But in New York, Brooklyn, we have the headquarters for ABC and CBS and NBC and the New York Times and some Time magazine, and none of them are going to get to the bottom of anything because filthy, dirty, rotten corruption. You know, Democrats, in short. Isn't that amazing? I'm a little disappointed we didn't finish the Al Sharpton resist, because that's one of my favorite sound bites, I think, of if not of all time, certainly one of my favorite Reverend Al Sharpton sound bites, such a classic.
But resist we much. We must and we will much about that be committed.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. The Catholic Church has a new pope, and the Democrats have Al Sharpton. He's the Reverend Al Sharpton. Let's go to the telephones, Michael. Let's go to, hey, there he is. Let's go to Marco, calling from Springfield, Virginia. Marco, you're on the Chris Plante Show.
Good morning, Chris. How are you?
I'm great, Marco. What do you say?
Hey, I wanted to comment on that 15-foot statue in Times Square in New York. Uh-huh. I think it really reeks that they would build a statue honoring Letitia James while she's under investigation. You know, I don't know if you saw the statue or not.
Oh, sure. It's hard to miss the statue.
Yeah,
well, giant bronze statue.
Yeah, well, you know what? I remember one of her famous quotes. You were talking about charlatan there. Her quote was, when she was talking about Trump and other white politicians, male, stale, and pale. So she's a racist, a sexist, a fraud, and I hope she gets what she deserves, because what you put our president through, who's doing a great job, is totally inexcusable.
Unless you're a communist, right? Unless you're a Soviet, Bolshevik, leftist, radical who believes in the liberal to English translation dictionary that power, definition number one, something to be abused. Just amazing.
Exactly.
Yeah, and you're right about this giant bronze statue in Times Square. They say it's 12 feet high. A 12-foot black woman now stands at a 12-foot black woman now stands tall in Times Square. Well, sure, 12 feet tall. And some folks are big mad about it. That's the griot where illiteracy is king. The statue titled Grounded in the Stars, which doesn't make any sense. So that's perfect and irrational. Installed by British artist Thomas J. Price, is meant to challenge assumptions of representation and identity. Marco, they use the words, but they don't know what they mean.
Exactly. It's really kind of scary, the kind of resistance they're giving this administration. And to see Biden on The View yesterday, it's just remarkable. I mean, how much more does it take, people? He's totally incoherent, and Jill was holding his arm, making sure he didn't step on it. But some of those shows need to be taken off the air. They really do. Well,
it's ABC News, and they pay. They pay those between the five of them. It's got to be like $50 million a year to pay. Are there five or four? Five? You think there are five? And every one of them is an idiot, low IQ, uninformed to misinformed, ignorant, and politically radical. And that's ABC News. That is literally under the umbrella of ABC News, under the budget of ABC News. They are ABC News employees, and that's supposed to be a news organization. But the filthy leftist commies. Marco, what it reminded me of when I saw this giant, and I wouldn't say it's the most flattering depiction of a human being, this 12-foot bronze statue. And there are real people around. There are statues, people complaining, oh, sure, all they have is statues of white people in Times Square. You mean people that accomplish things? Like George M. Cohan. There's a George M. Cohan statue there, who my grandfather knew. But that's not important now. And, you have people that accomplish things that were remarkable people. And now they have, so it's not even a real person, even though it does look like Letitia James. And it reminded me, Marco, and Marco spent a career in the United States Army, and it reminded me, Marco, of the statue of Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov. That is to say, Lenin. His actual name, Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov. There's a statue of Lenin, a bronze statue that is 16 feet high, that stands proudly in Seattle, Washington, in the United States of America. And it's a 16-foot high bronze statue of Lenin, looking every bit the communist. And they love it so much that they put this, and it's never vandalized. They're tearing down statues of Christopher Columbus, as the mayor of Chicago now is doing, with any likeness of Christopher Columbus in Chicago is being attacked by Let's Go Brandon. And in another Democrat city, Seattle, a 16-foot high bronze statue of Lenin, looking like he's charging the palace in St. Petersburg. Just amazing.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that they could add a statue to in Times Square, they could put a really short black woman, and that could be honoring Jasmine Crockett, because might as well put the two of them in the same boat. You know what I mean?
Maybe they should have a statue to the man that died on the New York City subway and was sexually assaulted after death by an illegal alien who stole everything out of his pockets. But the Democrats be more likely to put up a statue to the illegal alien that raped the necrophiliac criminal thief, illegal alien. And, the news media doesn't cover that story. It's an unpleasant story for them to cover, but they helped create the story. They should be covering it. The Democrats, now we can add necrophilia to their list of accomplishments, the Democrat Party. Just amazing people. Marco, you're the best. Thank you for paying attention and for caring about the United States of America, career Army, and isn't that wonderful? I've got more coming up. The Jew haters on the loose in New York again. You know, the Democrats. And let's see if they firebombed anything in the last 24 hours. Any self-immolations, because they like that too. We've got more Democrat hijinks coming up. Joe Biden on The View and the new Pope. Now, there is breaking news right now, as there so often is during the first half of the day. Former United States Supreme Court Justice David Souter has died at the age of 85. David Souter, and he was nominated to the court by George H.W. Bush, Republican President George H.W. Bush, and he became a reliably liberal vote on the Supreme Court. David Souter dying at the age of 85. And that is sad, at his home in New Hampshire. A good man. Justice Souter was appointed to the court by President George H.W. Bush in 1990. He retired in 2009 after, if you're doing the math, serving more than 19 years on the United States Supreme Court. The U.S. Supreme Court put out a statement on the passing of David Souter. Justice Souter served our court with great distinction for nearly 20 years, brought uncommon wisdom and kindness and a lifetime of public service. Retiring to his beloved New Hampshire in 2009, he continued to render significant service to our branch by sitting regularly on the Court of Appeals for the First Circuit for more than a decade. He will be greatly missed, Chief Justice of the United States John Roberts said in a statement. And he was described by the Associated Press as a, quote, reliably liberal vote on abortion, church-state relations, you might say issues, freedom of expression, and the accessibility of federal courts. Now, David Souter, again, at a H.W. Bush nominated him, selected him to the court, and then it's like, oh, look, he votes liberal every time, because conservative presidents, Republican presidents, were not in the habit of looking for the most. Ronald Reagan was very conservative justices, in particular for the Supreme Court. Now the Democrat Party has turned the courts into warfare. They call it lawfare. We all call it lawfare. But David Souter has passed. Barack Obama replaced him when he left with Sonia Sotomayor, also known as Jake LaMotta, a radical left-wing extremist.